Good afternoon. 12 o'clock, straight up and down. Let's start the meeting. I'm Tom Petway, your chairman, and this is your board. I'm going to ask them to stand and call the meeting to order and stand in a moment of silence for a time of reflection and then the pledge of allegiance of the flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I'd like to have a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you very much. We have our safety briefing from our CEO, Paul McElroy.
Safety is the first thing we do in any meeting and every day at JEA. And so for our visitors and people unfamiliar with the 19th floor here, we are on the 19th floor. If there is a need for emergency, we will exit on the stairwell to the left of the elevators. We'll go down and come out on the plaza level and in orderly fashion move across the street. We'll look both ways and be careful crossing Main Street, gather on the southeast corner in the open lot of Church and Main. Your safety buddy is the person on your right, and I would ask you to just sort of make sure that that individual gets out of the building safely with you. Should there be an event, we have Ted Hobson who will call security, and Mike Rost will be CPR. In terms of restrooms, we know where they're on the left there. Everybody put their cell phone on quiet, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Got my cell phone on quiet. If you didn't follow that, Paul is on my right. He's my buddy. Y'all follow me and we'll be going the most direct way. Okay. Thank you very much, Paul. We have our Sunshine Law public record statement from our Chief Legal Officer, Ms. Brooks, Jody Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This meeting has been publicly noticed in compliance with the Sunshine Laws of Florida, and minutes are being taken.
Any questions? Thank you very much. We'll move into 2A, comments from the public. We have any cards? No cards? Okay, we'll move into the council liaison. I don't see the council liaison either, so we'll move into Dr. Gaffney. I don't see Dr. Gaffney, so we'll move to Mike Mullen. We'll see Mr. Mullen. This will start us off. This is good. This is another of our champions that that we're gonna celebrate with. Come on up. And this is Brian. Everybody knows Brian. Hi, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome. Thank you. We're proud of you. We're proud you're here, and we're looking forward to hearing a little bit more about what you've been doing. We know you've been quite successful.
Okay.
Brian?
Thank you.
Please give us the presentation.
Thank you, Chair Petway. I just want to recognize all the JEA's teams who participated in the recent American Waterworks Association Operator Challenge in Orlando. JEA has participated in the past 2 years in a Florida Utility Challenge, but 2 weeks ago, it was the first time in 2 decades that we participated in the larger AWWA, which qualifies the winning teams to compete in a national event in Philadelphia in June. So we had 10 team members total competed and several management support. We had 6 first-place winners behind here, and if I can ask the folks at Meter Madness and Bacco, Robert, and Philip and Eric, if you guys can stand up, and the management team that participated. So we had a real good 10 team members that actually did the work, and several management supported the event. It's great for teamwork, sharpening skills, working with other industry leaders, participating with other utilities, and it's just a great opportunity. We competed in 4 events, the Backhoe Rodeo, that was Robert Cleveland, the pipe tapping team, I'll put them on hold, and also the Meter Madness, Philip Graham, Eric Ingram, and Christopher Reeder. So we want to go ahead and present the first place team with Bobby. You as the captain. You got Sam Howard, Brandon Barr, Michael Bates, We always go by nicknames. Buddy goes by Buddy, but his official name, I know him from there. I got to look it up. So Walter Kennedy, and did great on first place on both pipe tapping, on ductile iron pipe, and PVC fun tapping, and they get to qualify to go up to Philadelphia in June. We thank Paul, the board support for us doing this, and we appreciate going forward and bringing home some more national championships before it's over. Sounds good.
Great job, guys.
Let me go over and shake your hand here before you get away. Congratulations, guys. We're proud of you. Proud of you. Thank you. Congratulations.
Mr. Petway, you want to get a photograph?
Yeah, why not? All this hardware, get all this hardware up here so everybody can see that. Come on. No, that's a good idea. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck, guys. We have one more champion for me to introduce, and that's our new board member to be, my friend Fred Newville. He's been nominated by the mayor. Everybody knows he is in the process of being approved by the city council, but I've asked him to join us today, and he'll be with us in a learning mode, and I just want to welcome you. This is a wonderful board that you're going to make a great contribution, and we're looking forward to having you with us. Thank you. Pastor Fred Newville, good man. Looking forward to working with you, Fred. Thank you. Okay, that takes care of, we have one more presentation from the Stanton Robotics Club presentation. So we will move into that at this point. Todd Lovelace,
That's me.
welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to have you with us.
All righty. I'm going to skip with all the trivialities other than to say thank you, guys and gals, so much right up front, because before I forget, I'm a Southern man. I'm supposed to thank everybody always, and I do. And the most important one to thank is my wife for putting up with all this silliness. Let's start with this presentation over here. Where's the because it's running away from me already. All right. This is mostly all 9th through 12th graders, Stanton and Paxton and a couple other places, some homeschoolers. Basically, we build robots in my home garage. We start off every fall, teach them safety and some shop equipment stuff, how to do CAD work, robot control software. Everybody has to learn how to read a ruler and a tape measure. We have to do all kinds of hand tool and electronic and electrical tool training for the students. You'll notice that there's a little balloon over a lot of these people. These are all JEA employees that are engineers or managers that are working with us as volunteers. Everything is done in or around my house and in the workshop except for our competitions. We have JEA engineering contractors that work with us, JEA engineers, managers, that's all kinds of stuff. What we're doing is we're teaching kids trades and things that have to be done in order to build a robot. Forgive this presentation, it's running away from me. Okay, we build the robot in January and February. We have 6 weeks. That's a very short time to do anything building a mechanical device. We start off by having a big brainstorming session here in the training center. All the kids, there's 50 kids on the team. We have to strategize and brainstorm to figure out what it is we have to do to win this year. Then immediately after that, we get started actually fabricating, designing, and building the robot in my shop. We also have engineers from other companies. This fella is teaching AutoCAD or SolidWorks, a CAD package to the students so they can do a lot of the design work themselves. This is some of the output of their work, actual pictures of and those are actually what the pieces look like on the robot when we're done with them. The whole backyard is continuously strewn with robot parts and arena parts. After we get done prototyping and design work, and doing design work, we start doing fabrication and assembly in earnest. The kids work on the lathe and the milling machine. They learn how to weld. They learn how to do assembly and testing of all these electronic and electrical devices. You'll notice there's a plethora of young ladies on this team. It's not just guys. And they are all required to learn this kind of stuff. Anyhow, when we get done, 6 weeks is a very short time to do this work. When we get done, we also have to build pieces of the playing field. So we have to teach the kids wood construction also. So we have a team of adults that are basically teaching table saw and cut-off saw and all kinds of stuff. We have kids that have graduated from our team, have come back as engineers, and we have 6 of those working with the team this year. After all that, we get to test the mechanical systems, and it's just about time to go to a competition. You'll notice that there's an awful lot of familiar faces of JEA employees in here. I want to thank all of them for the literally thousands of hours that they put in working on the robot. After that, we go to a competition, usually at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. We've been very, very successful over the years. We've won the Southeast Regional Championship 4 times. And these competitions are a tremendous teaching tool for teaching leadership and communication and coordination and cooperation. We've also won tons and tons of cool awards, scientific awards for our work. I want to thank everybody at JEA, the board, our CEO, the managers that put up with us, all of that kind of stuff. We thank you so much. We want to run a short video real quick, if we could. This video was done by the student video team. They do the video work, they do the editing. Everything on the team is student done.
4 regional championships, as well as numerous awards for excellence in engineering and design. Our team has had a consistent competitive ability. In 2016, we placed in the top 98% of robots for contributing to winning individual rounds, beating out 3,064 of the 3,140 robots internationally. The first stronghold was the 2016 FRC game. It is a medieval-themed game, but there are 2 alliances of 3 teams each. The alliance's goal is to breach the opposing team's defenses, which change between matches, and score in their tower.
This year's game was a spoof of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. We are attacking a castle.
After the autonomous period, drivers then go to their driving stations and control the robot for the remainder of the match.
Some of our prototypes don't work too well. Some of them do. There we go. This competition, probably the playing field was the most rough competition we've ever dealt with. We broke more stuff trying to get these robots right than you can imagine. But we got it right. The robot is running under autonomous situations here. It is not being controlled by the kids. It's actually targeting and crossing the goals and all that type of stuff all by itself. That ridiculously bright light is illuminating reflective strips on the targets and on the field so I can see where it's going. Notice the red robot's pushing the other red robot. That's us helping a team member. Despite the fact they probably don't like it, the students learn more about leadership and cooperation and those type of skills than they do technical stuff.
Pretty cool.
When the robot's sitting there, it is thinking, it's adjusting, and then it's getting ready to fire. That robot's entire purpose in life is to block other shooters.
Not working.
Anytime the robot's crossing the field like this, it's doing its own thinking, its own looking around. When it goes across the bridges and lifts and lowers the drawbridge, it's all automated. The programming to do that was done by the students. At the end, you got extra points for being climbed up on that platform around the tower windows. Even with six-wheel drive, that machine's having a terrible time getting over those curbs. Ouch. I will tell you that we have almost 100% attendance in college of the students that graduate from our team. We have students that have become engineers, most of them. We actually have a bunch of lawyers. We have a bunch of accountants. And believe it or not, we actually have 2 professional clergy that are alumni of the team now. What we offer to the community is a pool of manufacturing talent that has well-rounded human capabilities, the ability to get along, the ability to plan, the ability to be on time. It's really a worthwhile program. Again, I want to thank JEA, the board, the CEO, and all of the employees from JEA that help me every year. This is a wonderful program, and we sure appreciate it. Okay, are there any questions real quick?
Todd, would you give your background for the?
Todd, does everybody understand Todd works at the JEA and does this?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Mechanical
he's a
engineer,
JEA.
Northside Generating Station, 33 years. I have a degree in mechanical engineering and in manufacturing technologies. I have my own machine shop at the house. I got rid of my automobile restoration garage and converted it over to build robots with kids because it was that much more interesting. My last car was a Hemi Challenger convertible. We got rid of that car in order to work with these kids. That should tell you something. Okay? This is a fabulous program. We're team number 86 out of 5,400 something. We are one of the oldest teams, and my team, as we know right at this very moment, we are the longest participating first management team in the world internationally. My wife and my friends here at JEA basically have been doing this longer than anybody else in the entire world. So we are pleased with that. Again, thank you folks so much for, JEA's been supporting us since day one. We could not do it without you. Paul, thank you particularly for making sure it happens.
Well, thank you, Todd. You do a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Fantastic job.
Todd, I know there's a college curriculum for this field now,
Correct.
right? Do the Stanton kids actively move into this at the next level?
Yes.
As a general rule?
As a matter of fact, a great number of my student graduates go to engineering school, and when they graduate, they either go into the robotics business, they go into mechanical or electrical
Right.
engineering, and there's so much room to go into the robotics program,
Right.
the field these days, they're definitely going in there. And a lot of them come back. I've got 6 of them right now working on the team as volunteers. That's how much it meant to them.
That's great.
So
We're very proud of you and your team.
thank you
very
so much.
Paul?
And Mr. Chairman, after the board meeting, we can see the robot in the back there, number 86, and we're going to set up for a demonstration. We'll be chasing and shooting balls around the back after, as soon as the meeting's over. So be-
We'll sit down and stay out of the way until y'all are done if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Okay, we have a consent. Any questions or comments to, I do want to ask Dr. Dr. Gaffney, I see you ready? I didn't want to interrupt you over there. Come on over and say hello, everybody. Dr. John Gaffney, come on over. I just wanted to introduce you earlier, and you were not here, so I want to take the opportunity to introduce you now. Give us your message from the mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. I apologize, been a little late, but actually I was with the mayor. And,
That's a good attitude.
and I don't have much to say today, but he did ask me to extend greetings and to wish everybody a wonderful, happy holiday, a safe holiday. And, but that's about it. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay, bud. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'd like to move along to the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Any comments or requests on the consent agenda? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Report like sign, please. Thank you very much. We'll start with the reports, and are we ready for the reports now, Paul?
Yes, we are. Yes, you are, Mr. Chairman. The monthly operational and financial presentation or report, the package is at your desk or at your seat, and we'll also show it on the screen. It'll be brief this month. It's only 2 months of activity. The first page, go ahead and turn that slide, please. Reflects the water and wastewater operations. We can see that all of the metrics are currently in green with the exception of safety. Safety, we put some additional focus on at the end of last fiscal year. Continuing that this year, we had the storm and a couple of activities there that led us to a little higher accident rate or reported accident incident rate than we would like. When we get into the first of the year, we're going to do a complete reassessment in terms of many of the work processes to see if we can improve on that in the first 6 months of the calendar year. I'd also say the unplanned water outages, while it's reflected green there, might more appropriately be yellow, and we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of the San Marco water outage later in the meeting. On the next page, electric, pretty much the same story. I would think that the CME 5 there is noted as red. I believe that's a little closer to a yellow read in terms of the 153 performance for the first 2 months. We are the same story here in terms of safety. And the next page, customer satisfaction, we will report out next month in January. We'll have the 2017 final business study results and the residential wave 2. Nothing's changed since then, but we'll read that out in January. On the financial metrics, left side is the electric system. All signs look green in terms of the financial metrics. Our cost metric in terms of fuel per megawatt hour is indicated yellow on the slide, 58 cents off of the target. Most of that is lower sales at this point in time and just some timing of expenses. The same story as we look to the right side of the slide in terms of the water and sewer business, a little lower sales than expected, which is driving the cost per unit up. We expect through timing and through the rest of the year to get back on plan. That's the report for the first 2 months, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions of Paul? Thank you very much. The open discussion part of our meeting probably will be brief today. Anybody have anything special they'd like to bring to the board? We have a short agenda, and we probably have a short open discussion as well. I would like to say, just as a report and update, the trip to New York last week was an outstanding success. Our executive team and mayor and president of city council, Boyer, really did an outstanding job. If the rating agencies would talk, and they won't tell you what they think about what you did, you have to kind of assume or reflect on your performance yourself. But I can tell you, if they could talk, they would tell you and tell us that we did an outstanding job of presenting the JEA story, and the financials speak for themselves. Which is an incredible feat. We had our 9/30/16 fiscal year report in hand and distributed at the meetings, which is really quite an accomplishment, and even got some notice from the rating agencies about that. But you should be proud of what we do in day-to-day work around here to be able to report the success that we do on an annual basis to those rating agencies, which is a very important part of our process. So, again, my congratulations to our team, Paul. You and your team
Great job.
did an outstanding job. We have any new business?
Mr. Chair. Just
Cumber.
before we move on from open discussion, if I could ask Paul, you want to bring up the San Marco issue later in the meeting?
We could do that now, in terms of San
I don't know
Marco.
if open discussion if
Yep.
you want.
No, that's good.
Brian, pull that up, please.
And maybe I can just preface it for the board.
Have a seat, Brian. Mr. Comer.
So what I wanted to share with the board is, this kind of came to my attention a few weeks ago. So there was a pipe break in the San Marco neighborhood, and as our new board member will realize, is when something happens in your neighborhood, everyone thinks that you've gone through JEA training on how to fix a pipe, and so they start reaching out to you. So I've got some education to do with my neighbors and making sure that they realize I haven't gone through the JEA pipe fixing school. But with that said, so there's a pipe break probably about 11 p.m. One night, and the next morning, JEA issued a water boil advisory for the neighborhood. And Paul and I had a little bit of a discussion because the neighborhood wasn't really aware of the fact that a water boil advisory had been put in place. And if this hadn't happened in our neighborhood, I don't know if I would have been kind of clued into it. And there were some signs that were kind of, placed around the neighborhood. Paul and I talked about the fact that there were some door hangers that were put on, but when people wake up in the morning at 5, 6 a.m., they brush their teeth, they make their coffee, first thing on their mind isn't to check their front door to see if someone has put a door hanger on there. The Starbucks actually in San Marco closed at 3 p.m. because they didn't realize that, all day there was a water boil advisory, and, they weren't notified of it until I think a few of their customers had mentioned it. So I told Paul and I think I expressed some concerns about the SSOs during the hurricane and how we communicate with our customers. And what I challenged Paul with is, in this day with technology and the information we have on customers, there's got to be a better way to communicate with our customer base when these types of issues occur. The fact that, we do have email addresses for, folks. We do have the ability to, we were calling people's, home to warn them about preparing for the hurricane. And Paul was, agreed to kind of take the challenge and say, how do we better communicate with people when there are isolated incidents within specific communities that don't affect every JEA customer, but there's a subset of customers that do need to be notified of what's going on for a health or safety perspective. And so that was the challenge that I mentioned to Paul that I wanted to bring up during the open discussion, because I think it's something that we have to get better at no matter what.
And so we certainly agree. A little background on San Marco. The map there shows the affected area in the dark outline. And what we had was in the middle of that, we had sort of a confluence of three major pipes, a 20-inch PVC raw water pipe, 24-inch finished water, and a river crossing line, 30-inch. We had one of the pipes basically rupture, and we went through the process of trying to identify where the valving system was. The guys did a great job in identifying that. Unfortunately, it's just more recent standards that has the valving system in GIS. So some of the legacy valves have been built over, and sometimes it's a hide and seek to determine where the valves are. A lot of that's institutional knowledge. Well, we got to them quickly and isolated the break. We did have 290 outages and ultimately 3,500 precautionary boil water notices were affected, or individuals were affected. On the next slide, we show just some pictures. The first incident was a significant amount of water and difficulty and challenge that the team had in getting to the identified source and shoring up and digging down. If we look at the top right in terms of the assessment there, we can see it was the bottom pipe of the three pipes. One would look at this and say, you want to question in terms of just even the engineering and design at some point in time in terms of putting this together. Well, hindsight, going back to 2004 plus, it's 2020. Certainly in current standards, and I believe in standards at that time, the difference between the two pipes, the margin there was not really sufficient, but nevertheless, it was put in play that way. The repair took place, equally challenging, the dewatering process, not only the water from the leak, but the water table, and then ultimately the fix. As Mr. Cumber pointed out on the next page, we looked at the root cause just to determine what had happened here. The pipes were installed in 2004, deviating from standards at the time. I think the assessment, and that's, the construction wasn't the best in the world in terms of putting those pipes so closely together. And the new standards actually changed out in 2011. We changed the standard for this size pipe would be ductile iron as opposed to a PVC. And so thinking about this, again, in some of these, we call it the disruptions impacting localized geographic areas, historically, we notify the agencies, and we're real good at that. We have some enhanced outreach, which is more or less a manual process. We post it on the website. We contact critical customers in the area, in this case, hospital, healthcare, or primary. The account executives are involved in talking with their customers. We do door hangers to all of the affected residences and businesses and leverage the media. The next step is really, we'll be launching now, and we've put a team together, and they'll be starting their work right after the first of the year, to try to go ahead and link up the systems that we have between the GIS, the customer system, and then the outgoing communication systems, the texting, phone calls, and email. Part of that is, we don't have email for everyone, and sort of the validation of the phone calls and the linkages. So there's some significant systems work to go ahead and connect this. I think there's some other quick hit areas in terms of the JEA.com elevating the visibility on the site for any type of these smaller, or I'll call it localized, impacts of service disruption, and we'll work towards that, as well as leveraging our own news feed through our Twitter and Facebook accounts. So we've launched the team. We've met as a senior team. We've got, and in fact, Ed Dednor, who leads up our emergency operation. Now that we're out of hurricane season, will step over and lead this up over the next several months and get us underway to improve this process.
Right. Do you have some comments?
I think there's several things. One is to recognize that we do have 8,000 miles of pipe. This was not a pipe that should have failed, because it's not 40, 50 years old. And Renetta Marshall and I, director, we just looked at we always seen the as-built drawings, and we know the clearance was 1 inch or less, and it should be 12 to 18 inches. The original design drawings I seen this morning showed it designed this way, which I'll use the word poor design. I'll go beyond what I've written there, deviated engineering design. So we had to make sure we design things right. We did design it for our customers. We got designed for safety. I think one of the pictures there is a great scene. The folks here that won the competition, they're out there in the middle of the night working to fix that. That's our safety officer in the damage assessment, because we need to have something that holds us big, safety concerns, customer concerns, communication. Paul mentioned the communication a team that we're putting together with Ed Dendor. We had a similar incident in the fourth quarter in Nocatee area where we had 6,000 customers. And we have 50 customers we can contact. We have to be careful at nighttime knocking on doors. We can 20, 30, 50, we can contact those customers. When you get this localized geographical that's large, you try the media, but we need to do more with the technology available now. And we're going to have a couple of these a year. We hope it's minimal, but how do we do better communication? Certainly with modern technology, we'll work on it. And in the meantime, our folks are working hard to repair the pipes. We're looking at condition assessment. We have a large program to look at proactively. That program would not have caught this. The program is supposed to catch pipes that are 40, 50 years old that are kind of near its end of life, and do we have 10 more years or 1 more year? This need to catch up front in design, construction, inspection, and we'll certainly learn from this. And we appreciate it was very hard work by the folks to get this back in play.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a good point you wrapped up on, Brian. Sometimes we talk about these things, and the perception is the men and women that are physically performing the restoration work are doing outstanding work. exceptional work. We've seen it in terms of their competitiveness on a state level. This is a communication issue, and that does not have any impact on the outstanding performance that our people in the field do. So those guys and gals do a great job out there. Sometimes we get this mixed message of the break, and then is it the repair? It's not the repair. Repair people are fantastic and do a wonderful job.
Leverage technology.
So, Mr. Chair, I do want to, thank Paul for jumping on this so quickly. I do recognize the challenges of a bunch of legacy systems that have to be tied together in order to be able to make this work. But, I think, like I said, I think from a communication standpoint for our customers, as people are becoming more connected to technology, they expect instant notification. And I think as we look moving forward, as we build these systems that allow for that to take place, I think it just, enhances our customer experience. And let me echo what both Brian and Paul ended with is everyone went to sleep at, 11 p.m. and woke up at 5, 6 a.m. and the water was back on. So this is not, as they said, a repair issue. Customers were pleasantly surprised at the fact that by the time they woke up, the water was back on. It really is just a communication issue. And I think as long as we take care of that, we're in a much better position as an agency.
Well, I agree with both of you. You make a good point. I looked at the pictures and this is just a big PVC pipe that broke, and that's going to happen. We can predict that we're going to have more broken pipes, so we need to have a communication system that will deal with the communication that we want. So thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you, sir.
Look forward to hearing updates on the project.
Okay, we'll do that.
Thank you. Anything else?
The only other thing, Mr. Chairman, in this area, I did send out to the board members individually a series of papers with a summary email on overhead to underground, sort of a, if you will, a tutorial on the historical discussion that we've had at JEA, not only at JEA, but I'll say the utility industry, not only state and regional, but national. And I know that there continues to be discussion at times around the community, but I thought that was good background information. I would say that, really from our perspective, it's an enormous cost when we look at the total system, $2 to $3 billion in today's funding. And when you spread that over sort of a 20-year project it might take to get to the entire system, your costs elevate due to cost increases and cost of funds up into the $4 or $5 billion range. With the additional complexities of the other service carriers that we have on our poles, the cable companies for which we receive rent for. And I think the biggest thing there is just the extraordinary transformation that's going on in the electric industry in terms of the flows of power and what the distribution system will look like in 20 years. I wish I could tell you. We're not quite there yet. I think we're going to evolve to that, so we need to be very cautious in terms of any type of significant impact on the distribution or investment or change in the distribution system when we're looking at this transformation of two-way flows of energy. And then finally, as we look, there may be some opportunity to hang some additional broadband and other providers on our poles for some revenue opportunities in the future. So it's a constant moving target and constantly discussed, and hopefully we gave enough information for everyone to have a good background knowledge on this issue.
Any questions or comments on that? Thank you very much. Old business. Any old business? If not, we'll move into our reports and ask Kelly Flanagan to give us our Finance and Audit Committee report. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance and Audit Committee met on December 1st in advance of the New York City ratings meetings. We received informational reports from Audit Services, our ethics officer, on the electrical system and water system reserve fund, and the energy market risk management. In addition to that, our external auditors from E&Y presented the fiscal year 2016 audit report, which they issued a clean opinion, and I just want to take a moment to stop and thank the management team and our auditors at E&Y for the tremendous effort that both groups put forward in terms of the timely issuance of the financials. It's no small feat that they were able to turn those around so quickly in advance of your New York City meetings. So very much appreciated from the Finance and Audit Committee perspective. And finally, there's one action item to bring forward which had unanimous support from the Finance and Audit Committee, which requires a full board vote, and that is to carry forward JEA's calendar year 2017 and 2018 fixed rate refunding debt parameter resolutions for the electric, water, and sewer and St. Johns River Power Plant systems.
Okay, we'll consider that a motion, and can I have a second, please?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you very much.
That is all.
Thank you. Kelly is our chair, and her committee have done an outstanding job. We appreciate it very much. I'm going to defer the next item B, the compensation committee report. We didn't have our compensation committee meeting yesterday, and if you'll notice, our chair of the compensation committee is not here. Dolores Kessler's home and couldn't be with us when we didn't have a meeting yesterday, and we're going to defer this information until the next meeting. Any comments or questions on any of those items that you want to mention at this point?
No, I'd say no immediate action was
Okay.
necessary there.
Okay.
So I think we're good.
Okay, Government and Legal Affairs Committee report, Chair Alan Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Government and Legal Affairs Committee met immediately prior to this meeting today at 10:30. The minutes of our May 6th meeting were approved. I'd like to thank at the outset Mr. Mike Hightower, our Chief Public Affairs Officer, and Nancy Kilgo, our Director of Government Relations. We meet, for the Board's information, on a regular basis to talk about legislative and regulatory affairs of interest to JEA. I also meet with Jody Brooks on legal matters. At our committee today, we talked about various legislative initiatives that we are monitoring, both at the local, state, and federal level. A brief update for the board on the status of the septic tank phase-out program. As I think everyone knows, the City Council approved the $30 million septic tank phase-out program in its August meeting. That's $15 million from JEA, $15 million from the city. As part of that legislation, the City Council approved funding the cost of connection fees on behalf of the targeted neighborhoods in an effort to encourage participation in the program. That legislation set a threshold of 70% within each targeted neighborhood for approval of installation. So you have to get 70% of the homeowners to approve installation of lines and hookup to JEA sewer and water services before we would move to the design phase. The first workshop is scheduled for January, and there's a 6-month timeline, so it'll be June before you actually see pipes going into the ground. And again, you've got to get 70% approval to do that. The remaining 30% would then be bound with a availability fee, and it's actually paid to the city, not to JEA. So even if they don't vote in favor of installing the water and sewer pipes, they'll get a charge. So again, an encouragement to take failing septic tanks out of the ground and get them connected to central water and sewer. So that's an update on that program. We had also, as you'll recall, at our last board meeting, adopted a resolution that was then presented to City Council to change the frequency of JEA board meetings to at least six times a year. The Rules Committee had an amendment to that legislation that would require meetings every other month by amendment from Councilman Creshenbenny. So that is moving on from rules at this time to full city council. And then as Chairman Petway pointed out, we've also had nominated by the mayor, Pastor Fred Newbill, who's been read in and is at rules in January and should be a full-fledged member by the end of January. Look forward to having you, sir. At the state level, again, everyone will recall the solar initiative that passed in August. That'll be subject to codification in the upcoming session, starting in March, so we'll be monitoring that, together with some suggested legislation that's a carryover from last session that would subject municipal utilities such as JEA to PSC oversight and regulation. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also, water-related policies regarding reclaimed water and water supply planning. At the federal level, I think the biggest issues are probably targeting the tax-exempt municipal bonds, which enable JEA and similarly situated utilities and municipalities to enjoy a lower cost of funds, access to capital at a lower cost. That's something that's been, I think, targeted by both sides of the aisle as part of overall tax reform. So that is certain to have an impact on JEA finances and cost of our services to our customers. Also, the WIN Act, Water Infrastructure Improvements for the Nations Act, which passed both the House and the Senate last week, would actually be a good move for us if signed into law, because it would, in effect, delegate CCR regulation, carbon coal residue regulation, to the states, which would really put it that much closer to JEA and work to our benefit. CCR fly ash basically is what we're talking about there, residual product. And then there's also some suggested legislation to change the nuclear production tax credit treatment that would allow JEA and other similarly situated utilities to better monetize our nuclear credits. Right now, if we wanted to monetize those credits, we'd have to sell them in the market at a discount. This would allow us to sell them at the full market rate. On the regulatory front, nothing really pending locally. At the state level, there has been a lawsuit filed challenging the emergency pollution reporting requirements. Board members and the public and the media receive a news release of a filing that we're required to make under emergency rules adopted this past year of basically any spill that falls within the reporting parameters. That's being challenged, so it's working its way through the courts. JEA doesn't have a position on that. Whatever the law is, we will abide by it. In addition, the St. Johns River Water Management District and the Suwannee River Water Management District have just completed their 5-year plan. Every 5 years, they go through and develop a joint plan. JEA is a significant player, was invited to participate in that and has participated in that planning process, and I think we're generally pleased with the plan that has come out. And finally, at the federal regulatory level, the Clean Power Plan, which has been winding its way through the courts, now at the D.C. Court of Appeals level. I think the news development to report to the board there, if you hadn't seen it, is that there's some talk that the Trump administration Department of Justice will not defend challenges to that plan. So the future of the Clean Power Plant is somewhat up in the air. On the legal front, our Chief Legal Officer, Jody Brooks, made a report to the committee. No new material litigation. One lawsuit that may be of interest to the board and our customers is a lawsuit to gain access to names and social security numbers of JEA customers. We are resisting that in court, defending against that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my committee report. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Have any questions of our chairman of our Government and Legal Affairs Committee? Mr. Cummer.
Chairman Howard, did the Volkswagen settlement funds issue come up at all?
It was not discussed at committee. I defer that question to the Chief Legal Officer.
Which case?
So what I would just mention is something worth looking at is I think everyone's kind of seen the Volkswagen kind of scandal that took place. There was a settlement that was created by a California judge that gave the state of Florida $152 million and change to disperse among different silos. Some of those funds could go to electric vehicle rebates. Some could go to other high horsepower engine conversions. And my understanding is the governor will have the sole decision on how to disperse that 152 million amongst different silos. And I think, we've talked about, Paul, at this board level, how as we continue to move in the direction more electric vehicles on the road, that's a benefit to JEA. I don't know if the utilities are looking at putting any suggestions into the governor's office as to how that money should be allocated. But I would, probably ask the committee and staff to look at that settlement, see what those different silos are that the money could be allocated to, and if there are silos that could benefit JEA, we should make sure that we have a seat at the table as that money gets dispersed.
Thank you.
Good idea.
We will.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon. Thank you, Mr. Tyra. We'll move to our Managing Director, CEO report. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of items. There's been some coverage in the media, WJCT, in terms of several EEOC complaints filed and some ongoing reporting about that. We are, and I'll just share with the board from my perspective and from Angie Hires' HR perspective, we are on top of those issues, and we are being fully transparent and cooperative as the EEOC reviews the application. And this is the point. They will review the application to see if there is merit in allowing the individuals to file a lawsuit. If not, then the conversation just continues. But I would give the board a little background in that we have done a lot of heavy lifting in the area of diversity and inclusion, and in terms of recruitment and retention and promotion over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years in particular. And I think have had some good movement. I think secondarily, and we've got a lot of information to potentially share, and maybe even, if it gets to a point, a workshop area with the board. But I would also say, in terms of some of these issues, we are open and transparent in terms of the way individuals that feel as though they've been unfairly treated can approach management in terms of monthly feedbacks with their manager. There is an internal process and procedure for EEOC complaints and resolution internal to JEA. We have an open door with HR, labor relations, and I know our HR executives are constantly helping and assisting those that have difficult challenges in the workplace. We have the ethics hotline, which is open for all individuals to report inappropriate behavior, inappropriate management styles and practices. Additionally, in some of these instances, we do have the bargaining unit contracts and a very well-defined grievance process for individuals to take, if supported by their union, to take grievances forward through, a very principled, very specific, prescriptive process to get to conclusion. And then finally, externally and locally, we've got the Civil Service Board as well as the Human Rights Commission before we get to this final step. And I believe most of these areas over a vast number of years have sort of gone through these issues, and we have sort of taken the position, out of respect to the individuals and also the respect to JEA, that we don't feel it's appropriate to comment in the press on ongoing discussions between regulatory agencies, whether it's a legal issue, legal case in the courts, or at a regulatory agency. And but I just some assurance that we are very close to this. We are working in a transparent. We're producing any information to the agency. We'll continue to cooperate, and where we can improve in the area of diversity and inclusion and promotion, and again getting our JEA community to reflect the community we serve, is sort of our long-term goal. So we'll continue to work to improve that, Mr. Chairman. Bargaining units, the agreements, we continue to negotiate. We've met with all of the bargaining units at least several times now. We continue to make progress. It's interesting, and it was an observation that actually, as the council president made it when we were in New York with the rating agencies. this is something that we collectively, the JEA and the city do on a 3-year cycle. And, it takes a period of time to get through a contract. It's not going to happen in one seating, in one meeting, but we are making progress, and both parties are negotiating in good faith, and we are moving forward. So we're optimistic, I think, on both sides that we can get to an agreement and really that incorporates the wages, benefits, and including the pension adjustment. I think the other thing, solar, we still have the discussion ahead of us in terms of our policies on private solar and universal solar. Private solar, we're going to change the language here, was the old rooftop solar or solar that was installed at the customer's location. I think it's more appropriately called private, and when it's utility, it's universal. And we do have a limitation in our policies that we did set up a number of years ago now, that we would take up to 10 megawatts of capacity and provide it for private solar installations. And sometime in this fiscal year, we'll hit that. So our plans still are to sort of look towards the March-April timeframe to bring something to the board to codify that decision, and we'll fully look at the subsidy issue and provide options for the board to move forward with the policy.
Net metering is part of the subsidy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're going to try to do also is start next month is identifying what the net metering subsidy is and report that out on a monthly basis as part of our package, and let you know how much money and how fast it's growing. I think it's important to know, as far as background, while everybody in the press is indicating that Amendment 1 failed, it was defeated, it did get a majority of yes votes, not by the 60% amount, but it did get more yeses than nos, and in our county in particular, it was 59.6% yes. So we fell just a little short of the 60 in our home rule. So that's ahead of us. Rating agencies, I'll take a moment to thank the chair publicly. And please thank the mayor on our behalf. He did an outstanding job representing the city and representing JEA and sharing his insights to the establishment of the board and really the direction of the city and how JEA plays a vital role in that. And the council president as well did a great job. And of course, our team did a great job. Ms. Flanagan recognized the E&Y work that our financial team put together. Having an annual report within 60 days was something that they are not used to seeing. And in fact, most entities, one of the agencies that are sliding back, they're not able to achieve their objectives anymore. They're sort of slipping back and delivering statements later and later each year. So they gave us high marks for having our statements to present to them.
Would you introduce our team? We keep saying our team. Would you have them stand up so we can see who was with us?
Who was with us?
Let the board.
Sure. So Melissa Dykes, the Chief Financial Officer. Melissa. And Joe Arfano. Is Joe here? Joe's over here. Is Ryan?
Ryan's not here.
Ryan's not here. And
Ryan's here.
And then Brian Roche and Mike.
Mike, I saw Mike.
Oh, Mike, there you are.
Every one of these folks had a presentation that was important and did an outstanding job, as well as Ryan as the support staff for the financials. Thanks a lot, gang. Great job.
Thank you. Then finally, Mr. Chairman, in wrapping up, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Healthy New Year, and a special welcome to our new board member. And thank you very much for all of the time, energy, and passion that you give to JEA. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions of our CEO? Well, the chair's report is short and brief, but let me conduct a little more important business here. The rules say I am as the outgoing chairman of the nominating committee, and should appoint 2 members to a nominating committee that in a timeline will have us form today and recommendation for action at the March meeting. So as as the chairman of the JEA, I will nominate myself as the chair of the nominating committee, or not nominate, I'll appoint myself chairman of the nominating committee, and I would like to ask Ed Burr and Alan Howard to serve on that committee. Or not ask them, more or less just kind of tell them.
Prerogative of the
If
chair.
they don't want to do it, they got to take it up with Paul. Paul's the man. So that takes care of that. And then you will remember that we will have a nomination for a chair and a vice chair and a secretary. That's the officers that we elect as a board. Okay? Any questions? Any comments? On the EOC issue that Paul spoke about, I know some of you have received phone calls. I've heard you had received phone calls. I'd like to remind you the board policy is that the chair speaks for the board on issues of questions and comments or relations with the media. And I want you to know that my comment to that question when I receive it is, it's clearly what you all feel, I know, and what Paul has said, but we don't have discrimination at the JEA. We don't tolerate it. We never have. This case goes back 20 years, which kind of gives you a bird's eye view of that issue. And finally, we don't comment on litigation. So if you do get inquiries, I'd appreciate you remembering that and either forward them or advise Paul of any kind of follow-up that you feel might be necessary. Any questions on that? Union bargaining, we just need to say your prayers every night for the union bargaining success. The mayor's doing a great job. We're supporting the mayor 100% everywhere we can. We got an overlap in the unions, the union support, and the members of the union. We think the beneficiaries of this great new idea, this great new opportunity that Jacksonville has, will do the right thing. It's an event that happens every 3 years, but I guess it's just an agonizing thing that takes time. When you're an impatient person like me, that's hard. But I think that Paul tells me we're making progress and the bargaining units are doing well, so I think hopefully we'll get to the right place sooner than later. Anybody else have any comments at this point before we announce the next meeting date and adjourn the meeting? Brother Newbill, we appreciate you being here.
Thank you so
Fred,
much.
you're going to enjoy this. It's a great group. You're going to enjoy being with us.
Looking forward to learning.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll
Being
enjoy
able to
it.
help where I can. Thank you.
Counselor?
Nothing to add, sir.
The next meeting is January 17th at 1 p.m. in the 19th floor of the JEA building. And I'd like to adjourn the meeting at this point. Thank you very much.